Hey y'all, welcome to your first year of drum lessons, week 17, Drumset edition. Today, we are going to be totally changing things up. The last couple weeks, we've been focusing on double stroke rolls on the drums. We've used them in grooves, we've used them in fills. Today, we are going to back way down on our difficulty level and also start a completely new topic. If you've been following along on our drum pad lessons, we've been talking about triplets for a little while. We're now going to talk about them on the drums. Today we're going to do eighth note triplet grooves, drum beats. And we're going to spend all day working just with this feel, getting used to playing 3 notes per beat with our hi-hat instead of 2 or 4. This can feel really pretty different than what we call duple feels, right? Groups of 2 or 4, that binary, divisible by 2, up, down, very square feel. Triplets feel more round, right? There aren't those hard edges on triplets. Even though you could say 3 points make a triangle, triplets don't really feel sharp like that. They feel more circular. And so getting used to the feel as your time feel, as your ostinato, as your subdivision can take a little time. And so we're going to spend all day today with beats. We're going to spend all week next week with fills. And we're going to ratchet up gradually the complexity of what we can do with triplets, but we're going to do that gradually, right? So today might feel like a real fall off a cliff in terms of difficulty from where we've been. That's okay. That's how this goes, right? Either you've been struggling to keep up the last couple weeks and this is going to seem like a chance for you to take a breath, or the opposite, this is going to feel too easy and you're going to have more time to explore, either get really comfortable with this or explore some other stuff too. Either way, it's all good. As usual, this sheet will be available as a PDF down below in the doobly-doo. I encourage you to print it out or review it on your device. Listening to me play this stuff, I hope, is helpful, but at the end of the day, really, this is your lesson, right? I'm just playing through stuff so you can associate how it sounds with how it looks, okay? So let's just jump into it. So the first thing, I gave away the important bit, right? We're going to be playing eighth note triplets on our hi-hat instead of eighth notes or 16th notes. So number one, we're going to go back to that simple bass on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4, quarter notes, boom, bap, boom, bap, and we're going to fill in groups of 3 with our right hand. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, triplet, 4, triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3, triplet, 4, triplet. Like when we did 16th notes on the hi-hat with just our right hand, this can get a little taxing at certain tempos. Da, 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 da. And so remember those lessons we've done on the drum pad about utilizing your fingers and creating like an up-down push-pull kind of motion. For triplets, what I'm doing is hitting the edge of the hi-hat on the first note of the triplet, and then I'm playing the second and third with the tip on top, so like so. And by doing that, I can play pretty quickly. Pretty relaxed. That last tempo, that's right on the edge of relaxed, right? But by doing that, I'm not getting too much of an accent on the beat, right? I'm kind of pushing that first note a little. The hi-hat almost has a little bit of a lope, right? But I'm not really accenting the hi-hat so much as just giving it a little shape, okay? And doing that can help as some of these tempos get quicker. In number 2, on beat 3, I'm going to play the first note of the triplet with the bass drum and the third note of the triplet with the bass drum. So 1 triplet on beat 3 with the bass. That sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. In number 3, we're doing that same kind of idea, the third note of the triplet, but now it's on beat 4. So the first note of the triplet is the snare drum, and then the third is the bass, which means as the bass goes back into beat 1, we're going to have 2 notes on the bass drum. 1, doom, doom, right? Let's see how that sounds. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. In number 4, I'm going to go back to that pattern from number 2 on beat 3, and I'm going to do it both on beat 1 and on beat 3. So the bass drum plays the first note and third note of the triplet on beat 1 and on beat 3. That sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Likewise, in number 5, we're going to refer back to number 3, that bass drum on the third note of the triplet on beat 4. We're going to do that. And we're also going to do the same thing on beat 2. So now going into beat 1 and into beat 3, I've got 2 kick drum notes. And that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. A little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. In number 6, we're going to put 4 and 5 together, basically, right? We're going to play the first and third note of the triplet on all 4 beats. It's going to be the bass drum on all the notes except 2 and 4 when it's the snare drum. And that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. In number 7, we're going to play all 3 notes of a triplet with our bass drum on beat 3. And that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Number 8, we're going to play a pattern with the bass drum. That's the first note of the triplet, the third, and then the second, and then the first, and the third, and the second. And if you think about what's going on, we're playing an eighth, and then an eighth rest, and then an eighth, and then an eighth rest, and then an eighth, and then an eighth rest. We're playing quarter note triplets with our right foot against everything else that's going on. It won't sound too weird because I'm filling in all of those eighth note triplet notes. But if I was just playing my hi-hat on quarter notes or eighth notes, this quarter note triplet would feel very strange. So let's see how it sounds with all the notes of the triplet. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Number 9, we're going to play the first 2 notes of the triplet and then the second 2 with the bass drum. So the bass drum is going to play 1 trip, 2 triplet. And that sounds like this. And so we're going to end up doing 4 notes in a row with the right foot as the last 2 notes of the triplet bump into the first 2 notes of the next triplet. And that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And now a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Number 10, we're going to play the first and third note of the triplet with the bass drum on every beat, which means on beat 2 and 4, we're going to end up playing the snare and the bass drum at the same time. In this kind of triplet bass music, especially the shuffle, which we're going to talk about more as a groove in a couple weeks, playing the bass drum and the snare drum at the same time is not that uncommon. There are certain styles of music where you'd almost never play the snare drum and the bass drum together. In shuffle music, because a lot of times you end up playing that shuffle with the bass drum, ja-jum, 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 you play the snare on top of that. Okay, so bass drum and snare drum at the same time, like I say, in certain styles of music, almost never, right? And then in certain styles of music, sure, whatever, all the time, right? Blues, certainly disco, dance, that kind of thing. Here's an example that features that. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And number 11, we're going to throw it all at the wall. We're going to play all of the notes of the triplet with the bass drum. So the right hand and the right foot are going to play the same thing for the whole measure. Snare drum on 2 and 4 still. This, I don't want to say you'd never do this. This I think of as more of an exercise than something you would probably use, but it's music, right? You can use anything, anytime you want, as long as it works and sounds good. Okay, so number 11, moderate tempo. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. and a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Number 12, we're going to start to change things up a little bit more. We've got the first 2 notes of the triplet with the bass drum, and then on beat 2 the second note, and then on beat 3 the third note, and then on beat 4 the second and third note. And that sounds like this. Nice moderate tempo. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. In number 13, we're changing things up again. There's no bass drum on beat 1, on the first note of beat 1. We're going to play the second and third note of the triplet on beat 1, and then the third note of the triplet twice on beat 2 and on beat 3, and then the second and third note on beat 4. Let's see how this sounds. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. In number 14, I'm playing the third note of the triplet with the bass drum 3 times, and then the second note of the triplet on beat 4. And that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Those ones with no bass drum on beat 1, I think are extra tricky. If you notice on the faster version, I threw in one of the bass drums on beat 1 just because it's so tempting. Really briefly, right, the bass drum on beat 1 is so ingrained in us because it helps, right? Beat 4 really leads us back into 1, and beat 1 is we're aiming for that. For the one whole measure, we're kind of aiming for that next one. And so when it doesn't have a bass drum, it really feels like the bottom fell out, and that's cool. That's the effect we're going for sometimes, right? But, whoo, you gotta stay in your head for that. Okay, so number 15, we're gonna use 2 16th note triplets. On the third 8th note triplet beat of beat 3, we're gonna play 2 16th notes. Nice and slow, that sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And a lot of this one got simpler, even though we've got those 2 notes, those 2 16th notes, making it kind of a little harder physically. But I think, if you've been following along, I think those doubles, we can push this tempo a little bit. Let's see how it goes. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Finally, number 16, we're going to take that same group of 2 16th notes and put it at the end of the measure as well, which means we're going to have to play 3 quick notes with our bass drum as we go from that last 2 notes of the 16th note triplet on beat 4 coming back into beat 1 with the bass drum. Let's do this slow at first. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. And let's see what we can do with this one a little faster. 1, 2, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Okay, so that's going to wrap us up for today. A couple in here are fairly challenging, but mostly today this is about the concept. This is about playing groups of 3 with your right hand on the hi-hat, getting used to that subdivision. Feel free to change these patterns up. Feel free to take your right hand off of the hi-hat and put it on the ride cymbal. Get comfortable playing groups of 3 as your subdivision. Next week, we're going to do fills with triplet subdivisions. And then the week after that, we're going to get into shuffles. And shuffles are going to open like a whole new door to us, not the least of which down the road a little bit farther being swing and jazz, right? Okay, so get comfortable with hearing 3s in your head as you're playing other stuff along with it, okay? it's going to be, it's one of those things, right? I said like last week we were kind of at the top of a hill, and then we were going to come back down. The thing about being at the bottom of the hill is that means we're going to build a lot of stuff on top of this feel. Okay, so make sure you're really comfortable with this before you move on. Don't forget to print out the worksheet down below in the doobly-doo PDF. If you appreciated this video, I would love a thumbs up. If you hated this video, I would settle for a thumbs down. If you're going to give me a thumbs down, you probably left already anyway, so whatever. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below in the comments box. It would be great if you subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with what we're doing. If this is your first time here to your first year of drum lessons, I encourage you to check out the whole playlist. We've done a lot of stuff getting up to here, and going back and catching up will help to keep you prepared for the things we're going to see in the future. If you really love me and you want to make sure you don't miss the slightest thing I do, you can hit the little notification bell, and then you'll get notifications when I release new videos. I can't thank you enough for being here. If you want to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, I'm at both those places at Penny Larson Drums. Next week, we'll be at our regular time, Wednesday for our drum pad videos, Friday for our drum set video. And until then, keep practicing. Stay safe, stay sane. I love you guys. Take care.